Ever wonder what Romans had for breakfast? Not honey cakes, not feasts, just stale bread. And maybe, if you're lucky, a drop of oil. The first meal of the day was called ientaculum, a word that sounds refined. But in truth, it meant survival. Crusts, crumbs, and quiet strength before sunrise. I tell slow history, stories that don't rush, that breathe, so you can rest, reflect, or fall gently asleep. In the next few minutes, you'll wake inside a Roman home. Feel the stone floor beneath your feet, the cool basin water, and taste the morning in a single bite of yesterday's bread. Hundreds of thousands have listened to stories like this to find comfort, calm, and a slower rhythm before sleep. If your mind needs a quieter place tonight, tap, like, maybe, subscribe, and let this Roman morning carry you softly into rest. You awaken before the sun dares show its face, not with an alarm, not with fanfare, just instinct. The air is cool, still. Your blanket has slipped, and the chill on your legs reminds you it's not yet morning. Not truly. The domus is silent. You can hear your own breathing, steady, shallow. A dog sighs in the distance. A cartwheel creaks across the stone street below. Then the rooster. Not dramatic, not even on time, but persistent. He's calling a city that doesn't want to listen yet. You lie still for a few moments more. Listening, the sounds are familiar, predictable, comforting in their repetition. You could map the hour by them. The rooster, then the bread cart, then the splash from the neighbor's basin, then footsteps. Your body knows it's time. You stretch your legs out fully, arms overhead. The straw mattress crackles beneath you, and a bit of dust drifts into your nose. You stifle a sneeze, a cough from the next room. Your father, probably. You sit up slowly. Today will not wait, before anyone moves, before the olive oil sellers yell, before the baker lights his kiln. You've already begun your day. That, too, is a kind of strength. You remember yesterday's scent from the alley oven. Lentil mush, maybe, or garlic paste spread on a barley cake. You won't have that today, but the memory is oddly nourishing. Dust, breath, you. It begins, quietly, like every Roman morning. You slip out of your cot, careful not to wake your brother. His foot is dangling off the edge, toes twitching as if still running in his dream. The floor is cold, stone, worn smooth by bare feet. You step quietly. Your tunic hangs on a peg, wool, itchy, faded. The belt knot resists for a second, then gives in. The basin in the corner holds water left overnight. You splash it on your face. Cold, always cold. It clears the fog, but not the fatigue. You look in the bronze shard on the wall. Your reflection blurs. The metal is scratched, but your face is there, half shadow, half boy, half grown. You rub your face dry with the cloth hanging nearby. It smells faintly of oil and dust. There's a piece of bread on the ledge, hard as roof tile. Yesterday's crust, wrapped in linen. You tap it with your knuckle. It rings. Still, you pick it up. A few crumbs fall. You brush them into your palm and press them back into the crust. Every bite matters. You bite the edge of the bread, teeth protesting. It flakes apart slowly. You close your eyes and chew. The texture says everything. Time passed. Effort spent. The hardness of hunger that doesn't ask for permission. You remember your neighbor once told you stale bread made the jaws strong. You weren't sure if it was wisdom or just resignation. Today, it feels like both. The basin drips once, then again. Even silence in this room has a routine. Romans had a name for the first meal. Ientaculum. But the word is deceptive. It sounds elegant, refined, like something served with silver. In truth, ientaculum was humble. A crust, a smear of soft cheese. A few olives if the gods were generous. Some days, it didn't happen at all. You chew the hard bread slowly. Your jaw does the work your stomach is begging for. A sliver of light slices through the wooden shutter. It lands on the stone floor like a promise. You glance at the corner of the room where your mother stores the oil. The jar is tilted, almost empty. There might be enough to dip, if you're careful. You walk to the shelf, tip the jar, and let a single drop fall on the bread. It shimmers, golden, thin, but rich. You bite. It's better. Not much, but enough. The bread softens a little. Your shoulders relax a little. The day feels, just slightly, less sharp. Sometimes, a single drop changes everything. Some of the more fortunate families may include eggs or honey at ientaculum, but not yours. You've seen a boiled egg once this week, and it wasn't yours. You think briefly about the honey jar kept on the top shelf. It's meant for guests, for festivals, for days that feel worth remembering. This one isn't. You hear footsteps, heavy, familiar. Your father, rising. The house begins to stir, and so does the street beyond it. The street below starts humming. Not loud, not yet. A cartwheel catches on a cobblestone. A child giggles, chased by a tired father. The city stretches, but doesn't yawn. It just begins. You step into your sandals. The left strap snaps again. You tuck it in. Pretend it's fine. There's a rhythm to Roman mornings. Wake. Wash. Dress. Swallow something stale. Work. The rich may linger in bed, may wait for servants to bring figs or honey cakes, but not you. Your sister whispers to someone in the next room. Then laughter. Quick. Quiet. Gone again. You reach for your tools. A cloth sack with yesterday's grime and a new piece of string tied around it. It feels like a token of effort, a charm for luck. You pass your grandmother's door. She's already up, braiding her long gray hair. Her eyes meet yours. She nods. You nod back. That is your exchange. That is breakfast. You pass the hearth. It's just ashes now. Fire doesn't burn in the morning here. The wood is saved for lunch, or warmth, or when someone is sick. You wrap your outer cloth tighter across your chest. The fabric is thin, patched, smelling faintly of the lemon balm your mother grows on the windowsill. She says scent can trick the soul. That sweetness fools the body into thinking it's full. You're not sure if that's true, but it helps. A little, you pass the doorway, ducking under the lintel. The sky is gray. Rome's early sky is never pink or gold. It's stone and mist and maybe a little hope. Someone sells garlic near the corner. You recognize his voice before you see his cart. You nod. He nods back. There is no need for words. Your mother hands you a cloth pouch. Inside, one more crust of bread, smaller than the first. You pocket it. Breakfast. Again. 2 bites. Enough to pretend. A neighbor's dog barks at a cart full of cabbages. The cart doesn't stop. Neither do you. There's a chill in the air now that won't leave until midday. You tuck your hands into your sleeves, shielding your fingers. You glance back at the domus. The light in your sister's room flickers behind the curtain. She's singing. It's barely more than a whisper. But it follows you down the street. You smile and take your first real step into the day. Panis and paired simplicity. The first bite isn't dramatic. It never is. Roman mornings begin not with flavor, but with function. You reach for the panis. Yesterday's bread, now stiff as your sandals. It sits wrapped in linen beside a clay cup. Inside, watered wine. Or maybe wine-flavored water. That's breakfast. For many Romans, it was all they needed, or all they had. No spices, no cheese, just crust and sip. The bread is coarse, ground from emmer or spelt, with pebbles if the miller was sloppy. Still, it fills the belly. Eventually, you tear off a piece and dip it lightly into the wine. The crust soaks. You wait. Count to 5. Then chew. It's less harsh that way. Across the courtyard, your neighbor does the same, only he doesn't wait. He bites with purpose. A man who's done this too many times to care. The wine is thin, barely red, barely strong. It's mostly ritual. Even children sometimes get a drop, mixed with more water than grape. You sip, let it coat your mouth. It tastes like morning and memory, like something shared by generations before you, and something you'll likely pass on. Not because it's perfect, but because it's Roman. You once heard a baker say the bread isn't truly Roman until it breaks a tooth. That may have been a joke, or a dare. Cold mornings, cold meals. You don't cook breakfast, no one does. In a Roman domus, firewood is precious, used for boiling, baking, or banishing cold, but never wasted on dawn. So breakfast stays cool. Bread from last night. Olives if you're lucky. Maybe a fig that didn't spoil in the basket. The air is crisp, not biting, just enough to make you pull your cloak tighter. You sit near the threshold, half inside, half facing the alley. Your breath makes no cloud, but your fingers remember winter's grip. A passing vendor shouts about cabbage. You lift a hand but don't rise. The cup is in your lap. You swirl it. Watered wine catching pale light. You chew again. The crust cracks, then softens. A swallow, then silence. No smoke curls from your neighbor's hearth. No clanging pans. No sizzling oils. Rome wakes without fire, and somehow the cold breakfast feels warmer than it should. There's comfort in ritual, even when it's hard, even when it's tasteless, especially when it's quiet. Someone sneezes in the next courtyard. You smile. It's a reminder. There are others waking, chewing, sipping the same chilled stillness. That's what makes it enough. In the distance, you spot a patrician balcony with silver plates. They'll eat later, and warmer. But you don't envy them. Not really. Standing breakfasts and silent streets. Not everyone eats sitting down. Some Romans stand, lean, even walk with bread in hand. You've seen it. Men in togas munching pannies while shouting prices across a stall. Children biting crusts mid-run. Women with baskets tucked under arms. sipping from clay flasks. You walk past a man balancing a jar and loaf on opposite palms like scales. He nods. You nod back. There's no shame in breakfast on the move. In fact, it's expected. The city doesn't wait for anyone to finish chewing. You pass two workers sharing a jug of wine. Not a word spoken, just bites, sips, steps. It's not rushed, it's rhythmic, like a silent agreement between hunger and hustle. Your own feet tap lightly on the stones. Each bite matches the pace. You wonder if emperors ever walked while chewing. Probably not, but you do, because work begins before digestion ends, and no one's judging. Rome is a city of movement, even at dawn, even on an empty stomach, even when the bread feels more like a brick than a blessing. And still, somehow, it's enough to carry you forward. Even the dogs carry food in their mouths, stealing bits from doorways, then trotting off like tiny merchants with cargo. Children and the crusts of Rome. The smallest hands get the hardest crusts. That's the rule. Children don't choose their share. They accept it. A boy crouches near a stoop, holding what might once have been a slice. Now, it's a corner, a shard. He studies it like a puzzle, then bites. His teeth struggle. His brow furrows. But he doesn't give up. Another child nearby gnaws the edge like a squirrel. You hand a smaller piece to your youngest sibling. They blink, then laugh, then try to bend it. No luck. Eventually, they dip it in wine, copying you. It helps. You hear your mother say, let them feel it in their jaws. Builds character. You're not sure if she's joking, but she doesn't smile. In the corner, someone drops a chunk. A pigeon considers it, then walks away. Even birds have standards, and yet the children keep chewing, because it's what there is, and because in Rome, even a crust means care. The proof? You never eat alone. Crumbs shared are still a kind of feast, especially when they come with laughter. A sister tugs at her brother's sleeve, offering a bite. He pretends to refuse, then lunges playfully. For a second, it's a feast. Jokes between crumbs. Someone mutters. At least there aren't actual rocks in today's bread. A few chuckles follow. Even your father smirks. He's lost 2 molars to old millstones. Says it's why he whistles better now. You take another bite. This one softer. Maybe the center was spared. The joke lingers in the air, light as the dust on your sandals. Someone adds, tomorrow. We'll soak it first. Someone else, tomorrow. We'll have none. No one laughs at that, but no one argues either. Still, the mood isn't heavy. It's just real. You pour the last of the wine water into your cup. Swirl. Sip. The cup clicks as it touches the stone beside you. Another morning, another bite, another quiet smile. You look around. Everyone's chewing. No one's complaining. That, too, is Roman strength. Taking what's there, making it stretch, finding warmth in cold, joy in repetition, company in silence. The pigeons return. One pecks near your foot. You offer a crumb. It declines. You grin. Maybe tomorrow's batch will impress it more. Maybe not. But either way, you'll be here. As the sun climbs higher, someone pretends to toast with a chipped cup. You join, lifting yours. A celebration of almost nothing, but not quite. Soldier's breakfast. Tough, briny, honest. There's bread. Always bread. But sometimes, if fortune leans your way, there's more. A jar opens with a soft pop. Inside, green olives, swimming in brine. Someone passes you a sliver of cheese, dry, crumbly, the color of old parchment. It smells assertive. You don't ask what kind. You already know. It's whatever was left from dinner. Maybe goat's milk, maybe sheep. Definitely aged. There's also a small smear of lard, saved in a chipped dish. Pale, cold, and spreadable. Barely. Not everyone has meat in the morning, but fat? That's fuel. The bread, once bland, now holds flavor. Salty, tangy, faintly sour. It tastes like a compromise and a small victory. You break your portion in half. Offer the rest to your brother. He doesn't thank you, just eats. You both know the rules. No fire, no waste, no complaints. The olives squeak when chewed. The cheese sticks between teeth. But it's more than enough. It's Roman breakfast, when fortune favors reuse. Your neighbor calls this a soldier's breakfast. Tough, briny, honest. He says it keeps the jaw strong and the soul humble. You're not sure about the soul part, but your jaw agrees. When you were younger, you used to hide the olives under your plate. Now, you chase them with purpose. You're older, wiser, and maybe just a little hungrier than before. Golden drops, liquid wealth of the morning. Your grandmother appears, holding the real prize, a ceramic flask sealed in wax. She cuts it open with a practiced flick. Olive oil, golden, thick, slightly green in the morning light. She pours a finger width into a shallow dish. No garlic, no pepper, just oil. You and your sister each take a crust. Dip, press, turn. The bread darkens where it touches oil. The smell is sharp, grassy. You bite. It coats your tongue like velvet. Simple, fatty, glorious. Your sister giggles when a drip hits her chin. You reach over and smear a dot on her forehead. She sticks out her tongue. Even oil becomes a game when you're young. Your grandmother sighs, but doesn't stop you. She dips, too, with slower hands. The bowl empties quickly. She scrapes the sides with a thumb. Every drop matters, because this isn't luxury. It's survival, one drizzle at a time. And somehow, still, it tastes like wealth. A drop lands on the floor. The dog races over, licks it reverently, then looks up like a worshiper denied communion. Grandmother chuckles. Even dogs know gold, she says. She tells you the oil came from a cousin's grove near Ostia. You pretend to care, but you do. You imagine sunlight on branches, and the hands that pressed it. Last night's meal, this morning's strength. The olives are leftovers. So is the cheese. Everything here has a past life. Last night, these olives sat in a clay bowl beside roast lentils. The cheese was offered with figs, half eaten, half forgotten. Now, reborn. Breakfast is not new. It is revisited. You look at your piece of bread, now shiny with oil. You add a fragment of cheese, then an olive, stacked like tribute. You eat in silence. The flavors punch harder when cold. No melting, no mellowing. Just raw reminders of what once was warm. Across the courtyard, someone is doing the same. A crust with fish paste. Another with onions. No one asks for variety, only for enough. The table isn't reset each day. It simply shifts. What was dinner becomes dawn, and Rome continues without pause. The bread hums with everything it touched yesterday. Smoke, spice, lentils. It's like eating history in slices. Nothing is wasted. Not effort, not flavor, not time. Someone nearby asks if there'll be stew tonight. No answer, but everyone's thinking the same thing. If there's stew, It'll begin with what's not eaten now. Sticky fingers and sacred crumbs. The oil coats your fingers, not slippery, sticky, almost sweet-smelling. You lick it clean. The cheese crumbles, dry at the edge, but soft in the center. It tastes sharp, salty, alive. You wonder how old it really is. Then decide not to. Your father tears a bite and hands it off. He's not hungry, he says, but you know he is. This is how Roman mornings work. A bit here, a drip there, crumbs passed by hand. It's not stingy, it's sacred. Each bite is shared, because each bite is counted. You watch the olive jar sway as someone sets it down too fast. It sloshes. A single olive jumps out, rolls, then disappears under a stool. No one chases it. Too small, too far, too gone. You glance at your portion again, appreciate it more. The smells linger, acidic, earthy, ancient, and yet you smile. Your fingers shine in the light, sticky with breakfast, bright like polished bronze. You wipe them on your tunic, then laugh at the smear. It stays, like most Roman mornings. You sit quietly, the taste lingering, not quite savory, not quite sour, just Roman. It's a word that means many things. This morning, it means enough to keep going. A question between bites. The bread is mostly gone. The oil dish scraped nearly dry. Only a few olives remain, floating like survivors after a storm. You bite one. The brine stings a tiny cut in your lip. You wince, then chew anyway. Across from you, your sister finishes her crust with a dramatic sigh. She says, "It wasn't bad," which, in Roman terms, means, "I'm satisfied." Your mother hums as she collects the empties. No words of praise, no comment on the meal. That's the highest compliment. It was eaten without complaint. Outside, the street begins to stir. Vendors shout, carts roll. Your father reaches for his sandals. Your brother starts brushing crumbs off his tunic. You take one last sip from the wine water cup and think, for all its simplicity, this was enough. It always is. The birds outside call to each other. Sharp cries, like hunger given wings. You close your eyes. Imagine answering back. Yes. You whisper, "I ate." It wasn't much, but it was ours. The last bite is chewed slowly. Not for taste, but to make it last. Because even simple food deserves attention. And mornings like this deserve memory. If it were you, would you eat breakfast like this? Just bread, oil, and the memory of warmth? Sweetness comes with status. In the homes of the wealthy, breakfast is not just eaten, it's arranged. You see it as you step into the side kitchen. A polished tray glows with the gold of honey, the deep reds of dried figs, and the soft cream of goat cheese curls. A slave hands you a folded cloth. Wipe the edge. No drips. You nod. These trays must be perfect. The honey glistens under thin linen to keep off flies. Even the bees would be jealous. There's also a small pile of toasted wheat biscuits, what the mistress calls buccellatum, not quite soft, not quite crunchy, but unmistakably expensive. This isn't fuel, it's flavor, and the rich don't rush, they linger. Dip slowly, sip slowly, eat slowly. You glance at the olives on the lower shelf, meant for the kitchen staff. Briny and plain, you return your gaze to the golden pile of figs. Maybe today one will fall off the tray. You hope so. You've never tasted one, and by the smell alone, it might be worth the risk. One crumb, one lick of oil. That's all it takes to imagine marble beneath your feet, and not packed earth. The hallway is quiet as you carry the tray to the triclinium, a wide room, half shaded by painted curtains. 3 low couches curve around a mosaic floor. Sunlight glints off the polished tiles, bright blues and soft golds swirling into birds, vines, and something that might be Neptune. You kneel gently. The tray doesn't clink. One of the children sits up sleepily, rubbing his eyes. His hair still a mess of night. He blinks at the food, then at you, then groans. No dates. You bow slightly, say nothing. You're not paid to answer. Another slave pours warm goat milk into silver cups. A soft steam rises, catching the morning light like smoke in temple air. The aroma, soft, nutty, slightly sour. You wish you could try it, but the cups aren't yours. They never are. The matron takes a wheat biscuit, dips it lightly into honey, and bites with practiced grace. No crumbs fall. She's done this before. You step back. Quiet. Almost invisible. Still, the child makes eye contact once more. Raises an eyebrow. You can't help but smirk. Even in Rome, breakfast involves politics. Even children know when luxury goes missing. In the corner, a lyre plucks soft notes. Not from a musician, but from a caged bird mimicking one. It chirps 3 tones over and over. The same melody it's heard for weeks. Someone whistles back. The bird pauses, then continues. You return to the kitchen. Another tray waits, this one with more goat milk, and a small bowl of crushed almonds and honey paste. It's for the eldest son. He likes his morning strength to come in spoonfuls. You glance at the biscuit pile. One is broken. You take the smallest corner, barely a crumb. Chew quickly. Sweet. Flaky. With a hint of citrus. Somehow, you glance around. No one saw. You think. A loud clatter from the pantry saves you. A metal bowl fell. Loudly. Everyone turns toward the noise. No one notices your lips still moving. You savor the bite, even if you'll spend the rest of the day with stale flatbread and vinegar stew. For now, you've eaten what Rome calls luxury, and it tastes different. Not just rich, but quiet, warm, unhurried, like the kind of day that doesn't demand anything from you. You wipe the tray edge again. The mistress hates stickiness. Outside, doves coo gently. The garden has just been watered. Petrichor and lavender fill the air. Inside, the silver spoon stirs the almond paste. A child hums tunelessly. Somewhere upstairs, sandals click against marble. And still, breakfast stretches on. No urgency, no barking orders. The family eats like philosophers, quietly contemplating each spoonful as if debating its meaning. You refill the cup of warm milk. The steam curls upward again, like incense. Someone giggles at a fig split in half. It looks like a tiny mouth, they say. You smile. You didn't say it, but you thought it earlier, too. Everything here has meaning, even the breakfast. You look out the window and spot a delivery cart slowing near the gate. Could be more honey. Could be dates. Maybe that boy will stop complaining. Maybe he won't. But breakfast will still taste like leisure, and the day will still belong to those who started it slowly, and those who served it quietly. The tray is empty now. Just crumbs. And sticky fingerprints, and half a fig stem. You carry it back toward the kitchen, arms steady. The cook barely looks up. She's rolling dough for lunch. Already. You pass her silently, then pause. On the side table, there's one biscotti left, unclaimed, cooling, forgotten. You look around. No one near. One step, one reach. You break it in half and place the smaller piece in your cloth pocket. For later, your fingers hold the warm edge of the bigger half. You don't bite yet. Not here. Not where someone might see. But you know what it will taste like breakfast for the rich. And for one brief moment, you belong. What about you? Would you trade olives and cheese for figs and biscuits? Crack, crunch, chew. The rhythm of a Roman soldier's breakfast is more martial than musical. Before the sun crests the eastern hills, the camp is already stirring. Not loudly, not chaotically, just the quiet business of men preparing for another long march, or another longer wait. You're with them this morning, and breakfast is not a feast. It's hard bread, buccellatum, baked weeks ago and left to age into something between biscuit and brick. Each man receives a chunk, portioned by weight, not whim. A small bowl of water sits nearby, meant to soften the edge. Some dip the bread, others don't bother. One man rubs his crust with a clove of garlic, the oils barely soaking in. The scent stings your nose awake. No one speaks, not out of discipline, though that's part of it, but because there's nothing to say. The day hasn't started yet. The orders haven't arrived, and the garlic hasn't finished burning its way down your throat. Someone coughs. Another spits a seed. The only luxury here is salt, passed from pouch to pouch like contraband. You get a pinch. It tastes like endurance, like iron, like morning in the field. A centurion strides past, nodding once. That means inspection will come soon. You brush crumbs off your lap, adjust your cloak, and finish chewing the last stubborn corner of bread. It's not satisfying, but it is filling. Eventually, across the path, a soldier breaks his loaf cleanly in half. One piece goes to the man beside him. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is left to generosity. Even sharing follows rules. A group of auxiliaries sits farther down the hill. Their breakfast smells stronger, more cumin, more onion. They eat from a shared pot, dipping bread into something you can't name. You envy the warmth of their meal, but not the duties that will follow. The camp dog limps by, eyeing your crust. You toss it a piece. It sniffs, considers, and then walks away. That's how bland it is. Still, it's food. And for a Roman soldier, food is fuel, not flavor. The man beside you mutters something about fish sauce. You both pretend to laugh. Then someone blows a horn. Everyone stands. Breakfast is over. Discomfort is normal. Hunger is managed. And the day marches on, whether you're ready or not. You leave the camp behind as duties shift. Not everyone heads to drill practice or patrol. Some are sent into town to buy, trade, or deliver orders. You go with them, sandals slapping damp cobbles. The market's just waking. Stalls creak open like sleepy mouths. Steam rises from somewhere. You follow it. Bread. Fresh bread. Not soldier's bread, but real bread. Soft, warm, aromatic. A woman in a striped shawl offers loaves wrapped in cloth. You buy one. Feel the heat in your hands. And for a moment, you're not a soldier. You're just Roman. You find a step to sit on. Break the loaf and sigh. Inside is still warm. Crumbs fall like blessings. You dip it into a bowl of mashed chickpeas. Pulse. It's seasoned, gently. You taste herbs and oil, and salt that doesn't come from a pouch. This is not rations. It's food. You chew slower, not because you're savoring, but because you don't want it to end too quickly. 2 children pass. one holding a basket of boiled eggs. You trade a copper coin. Crack, peel, bite. Even the yolk feels like indulgence. Breakfast, finally, feels human. As the market fills, the sounds shift. Murmurs become chatter. Chatter becomes bartering. Bartering becomes shouting. But you stay seated, letting the sun reach your shoulders. Vendors call out prices. A man roasts chickpeas on a flat stone. They pop and hiss, releasing bursts of warmth into the air. Another sells pickled onions wrapped in vine leaves. You wrinkle your nose. Maybe next time. You spot a friend, another soldier, carrying a bundle of dried apples. He grins. Not garlic today. You trade him a bit of bread for one slice. It's leathery, tart, and impossibly sweet. You both nod in quiet approval. A small band of musicians begins playing near the fountain. The tune is familiar. Something old. Something from the coast. It doesn't matter. It's background. The kind of music you don't listen to but feel anyway. You finish your bread. Brush off your hands. The copper bowl now empty. The street now full. And somewhere, not far off, a trumpet reminds you you're still on duty. But you'll carry this breakfast in your mouth for a little longer. You return to camp just before midday. The air is drier now, and your boots are dusty. Someone asks what you found. You shrug. Say, bread. But your smile gives away more. Later, you write about it in your travel notes. You mention the way the market smelled, the warmth of the bread, the way the oil lingered on your fingers. You don't write about the garlic. That memory can stay in your mouth. A boy polishes his armor in the corner. He looks up. What's it like out there? You pause. Louder, better food. He laughs, and so do you, because that's what breakfast is. Not a meal, but a moment, a pause. Even in a soldier's life, even with boots on, even with calluses on your palms, you look up at the sky. Clear, bright, wide. Then turn back to your post. Not hungry, not full, just steady. Which suits you better, the soldier's ration or the noble's feast? No eggs, no bacon, the missing moderns. You open your eyes to the sound of quiet, not silence. There's always something, a bird rustling, the wind nudging a shutter, but none of it smells like breakfast. There's no bacon popping in a pan, no hint of coffee drifting in from the next room. This is ancient Rome, and the morning begins without fanfare. You sit up slowly. The cot creaks beneath you. Cold air brushes your ankles. You reach for your tunic, folded at the end of the bed. More or less. It's not soft, but it's familiar. Pull it over your head. Tie the belt. No mirror, no toothpaste, no scrambled eggs. Just you, your sandals, and whatever bread survived the night. You step outside. A vendor wheels a squeaky cart down the stone path. You follow it with your eyes, and with your stomach. You step outside into a world already in motion. The sky is pale gray. Not quite dawn, not quite night. A cart rattles over stones nearby. Somewhere, a door slams. You pass a man chewing on last night's crust, still wrapped in linen. He nods. You nod back. That's breakfast, not a feast, just fuel. You turn the corner and smell something sour and warm. Boiled barley. A vendor ladles it into bowls, thick and steaming. One customer stirs in olive oil. Another pinches in salt with dirty fingers. No spoons, just fingers, sticks, or torn bread. You take a bowl, sip carefully. It's bitter, earthy, strange, but it sits well in your belly. Behind you, someone sneezes. Another laughs. There's life here. Quiet. Haphazard. A child runs past with a piece of dried fig in each hand. He trips. The figs roll. He picks them up, dusts them off, keeps eating. No one scolds him, because food is food, and morning is morning. There's no waiting for perfection. A woman nearby eats cheese. Hard, crumbly. She chews slowly, looking at nothing and everything. You finish the barley. Hand back the bowl. Wipe your hands on your tunic. The day presses on. In a wealthier house, breakfast takes a softer form. You enter the atrium where light pours in from the open ceiling. There's already a tray waiting on the marble bench. Goat milk, still warm, in small bronze cups. Biscotti made of wheat and pine nuts. A small jar of honey sits beside them. You carry the tray to the triclinium, the breakfast room for the well-off. The cushions are thick. The air smells of lavender oil and toasted grain. Someone dips the biscuit in the milk, then the honey. It crumbles softly. They hum, content. No bacon, no eggs, but sweetness is a kind of wealth. A young girl picks up a dried fig, squints at it like it's a secret, then eats it whole. Her brother complains. No dates today? A slave shrugs. The answer is always, maybe tomorrow. A woman hands you a slice of soft cheese. It bends in your hand, creamy and cool. You bite. It coats your tongue, smooth and rich. A breeze stirs the hanging cloths. Birdsong echoes outside, and for a moment, you forget the hunger of others. You forget the bread crusts and the garlic cloves. This is still Rome, but this morning has edges softened by sweetness. But not everyone eats like that. In the military camps, breakfast is a ritual of necessity. You sit among legionaries who don't speak unless needed. The bread is hard, square, dense like sandstone. You soak it in water drawn fresh from the well. Someone passes a clove of garlic. Another, a pinch of salt. You chew slowly, grits and all. There's no oil here, no honey, no softness, just what keeps you upright. One man pulls out dried sausage, cuts it with a blade the length of your hand. He doesn't offer any. No one expects him to. Across the courtyard, another group roasts chickpeas on a flat rock. They crack like firewood, popping with tiny sparks of sound. The scent is sharp, almost burned. A boy watches hungrily from a doorway. A hand reaches out and gives him a half biscuit. He nods once. Grateful, no words. A senior officer walks by. Everyone straightens, then returns to chewing. This is breakfast in motion. No tables, no cushions, no music, only function, only forward. You wipe your hands on your thigh and rise. The market stalls will be opening soon, and if you're lucky, there might be something warm. Maybe. You pause near a food cart tucked between two temples. Steam curls from a clay bowl beside the vendor, but there's no smell of eggs, no bacon, no golden hash browns crisping in butter. This is not your breakfast, not the one you know. The man behind the cart lifts a lid. Inside, lentils, boiled and mashed. Gray-brown, humble. He ladles a scoop into a leaf-wrapped cone and hands it over. You take it, nod, eat with your fingers. It's warm, bland, filling, not exciting, but not empty either. You ask if he's ever tried eggs. He laughs, says, eggs are for chickens, not people. You're not sure if he's joking. Someone behind you asks for bread. He's handed a wedge, rough, dense, crust like brick, but it's warm, and shared, and enough. You sit on a worn step, watch a child chew olives straight from a pouch. He offers you one. You accept. It's salty, briny, soft. He smiles. You smile back. Breakfast here isn't about joy, it's about rhythm. And rhythm, once learned, is its own kind of comfort. A voice behind you mutters, "Best part of waking up," then shrugs, "Is waking up." Breakfast on the road. Travelers and merchants. The road is quiet at this hour, just the crunch of feet on gravel and the soft jingle of tack. You're walking with a caravan of merchants, wool traders, olive sellers, and one man who claims his wine is blessed by Bacchus himself. The mist hasn't lifted. It clings to the hem of your tunic, damp and cool. Your breath clouds in the gray light. No one talks much. Not yet. You pass a statue of Mercury by the roadside. Someone tosses a coin at its feet. You wonder if the god ever eats breakfast. The mules snort. The carts creak. Your stomach grumbles. But you keep walking, because everyone else does. Because the road doesn't stop for hunger, but it does pause. Eventually, someone calls out, softly, and the group veers toward a patch of grass and stone, a resting point. No signs, no stalls, just space. You sit, not because it's comfortable, but because standing is harder. Someone unwraps a bundle. Bread, again, but different bread. Maybe. Or maybe it's you who's different this morning. A fig rolls free. Someone snatches it, laughs, and hands it to a child. The child grins like it's treasure. You reach for your piece. It's cold, dry, but welcome. The day has officially begun. On the road. There's no fire, no pot, no clay cups steaming gently. Just a leather pouch of water passed around like gossip. You tilt it, sip. It's cool and faintly dusty, but it does the job. Another merchant pulls out a cloth bundle. Inside, figs, dried, wrinkled. He breaks one in half and offers it to the nearest hand. That hand breaks it again. The fig makes its way to you. Now, quarter-sized and sweet-smelling. You eat it in one bite, soft, sticky. A tiny burst of honey and sun. It lingers on your tongue longer than you expect. Around you, others chew quietly. One man sprinkles crushed herbs onto his bread. Another dips his into oil from a small jar. It smells of rosemary and earth. A boy with sunburnt cheeks feeds crumbs to a bird that isn't afraid. You watch. A moment of peace. No haggling, no shouting, just food and fog. You stretch your back, hear it crack, then lean against your pack. Your hands are dusty, your eyes heavy, but your belly is fuller than it was. Not much, but enough. That's breakfast, when you're moving, enough to keep moving. The fig boy offers one more piece, this time to the bird. It pecks and flies. The morning air shifts. Mist lifts just enough to reveal a path splitting into three. A decision waits, but no one rushes. A woman counts coins in her lap. A man tightens the saddle straps on his mule. You sit still, soaking in the smell of damp grass and animal sweat. Not unpleasant, just part of travel. Someone laughs. It's the fig merchant again, joking about how his bread could be used as roof tile. You smile, because he's not wrong. A merchant woman pulls out a cloth pouch. It jingles, not coins, nuts. Roasted chickpeas, salted, lightly spiced. She passes it around. You get a few, crunchy, a little bitter, but satisfying. A bird swoops low, aiming for the crumbs in someone's lap. It misses. Everyone chuckles. The mule doesn't flinch. You pet its nose. It smells like hay and effort. The sun begins to pierce the mist. One beam lands directly on your shoulder. Warmth. Brief, but real. You blink into it. Grateful. Someone mutters. Time to go. Everyone stands. Shoulders bags. Checks straps. But before they move, one voice asks, "You ever eat breakfast on the road, in the fog?" You nod. Now you have. The caravan starts moving again. Boots scrape. Wheels lurch forward. You fall into step. Not rushed, not slow. A rhythm shaped by years of doing this. Ahead, the fig merchant hums a song with no words. A cart creaks behind you like an old man stretching. You glance back, just once. The rest stop fades into mist and memory. Someone beside you offers a crust you didn't ask for. You take it anyway, because that's the rule. Share what you have, even if it's stale. Especially if it's stale. You chew. It hurts a little. You chew anyway. Not because it tastes good, because it's what's next. One man starts talking about a market near the sea. Fish. Dates. Cheese wrapped in leaves. His eyes light up. Another talks about a town that sells honey bread. Still warm at dawn. You close your eyes. Pretend you're already there. The fantasy makes the crust softer. Just barely. But you'll take it. The group turns east. The sun is climbing now. No shadows yet. But the light is steadier. Someone sneezes. No one blesses him. But someone hands him a fig, which, in this world, is close enough. As the sun climbs, the road evens out. No more stones to trip on. Just dust. Dry and fine. It clings to your ankles like memory. Ahead, the lead merchant calls for a quick pause, a flat clearing, shade from an olive tree. Someone drops a bundle of soft cloth on the ground. Out spills dried fruit, bread crusts, 2 chunks of pale goat cheese. The group circles loosely, tired but practiced. No one rushes. You sit beside a girl with a long braid and a scratch on her chin. She hands you a fig without a word. You nod. She nods back. Breakfast. Again. But not a repeat, just a continuation. Because on the road, meals are like breaths. Frequent, necessary, rarely memorable. Unless you decide to remember, the cheese crumbles. Chalky but smooth. Someone breaks into quiet humming. Not a tune you know, but you hum anyway. 1 fig, 1 bite of bread, and a slow breath. You think, maybe this is enough. The girl smiles again, wipes fig syrup from her sleeve. You lean against your pack and let the hum carry you forward. Wordlessly, quietly. Have you ever eaten breakfast on the road, before the fog lifts? Schoolboys and slaves. The first bite of the day. You hear the slap of sandals before the sun. The schoolmaster's footsteps echo down the alley like a warning. Children stir inside the modest homes, rubbing eyes, shrugging on tunics. A boy, no older than 8, stumbles over his own feet as he's handed a crust of stale bread. Not warm, not buttered, just dry and old enough to crack. He chews it anyway. Because that's what breakfast looks like when you're heading to school in Rome. Ludus starts at dawn. No time for morning luxuries. No porridge, no fruit. Just a crust in one hand and a wax tablet in the other. The boy's sister tucks a piece of soft cloth into his belt. A rag to clean ink or wipe tears. He doesn't notice. He's busy trying to finish the bread before the master sees him eating in line. Another child drops his bite in the dirt, looks down, thinks about it, picks it back up, blows on it, eats. You're not surprised. This isn't a world of waste or of second chances. Behind the schoolboys, you hear another set of feet, heavier, slower, slaves, already awake, already working. No one gives them bread. They find their own. The courtyard smells of laundry and ashes. You watch a group of young household slaves scrub yesterday's tunics in cold water. Their fingers red, their sleeves soaked. The sun still hasn't broken over the rooftops, but work begins before light. One boy hums softly, off-key, but steady. Another rolls his eyes, but says nothing. Near the well, a girl balances a basket of charcoal on her head. She walks with the kind of grace that comes from doing the same thing every day. She pauses only once. to reach into her sleeve and pull out a thin strip of dried onion. She chews without blinking. It's not breakfast, it's fuel. In the kitchen, the steward is already barking orders. The day's bread hasn't finished rising. But that doesn't stop the kitchen from moving. Boiling water, chopping herbs, feeding the master's hounds before they growl. No one stops, no one sits, and no one eats, not properly, but here and there, hands dart into jars. Sneak crumbs from corners. You see it, the quiet rebellion of hunger. Small bites stolen from the edge of someone else's feast. Morning is not a meal here. It's a test. Near the atrium, you catch a flicker of movement. A girl, maybe 14, steps silently out of a storeroom. In her hand, a single raisin. Not a handful, just one. She checks the hall, empty, tilts her head back, drops it on her tongue like a prayer. Chews slow, eyes closed. It lasts 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then the moment's gone. She brushes her fingers on her apron, smooths her hair, and walks away. You wonder if anyone saw, but she moves like someone who's practiced not getting caught. Behind her, the door creaks. You lean forward just enough to see the glint of more raisins, hidden in a clay jar behind a jug of oil. Not meant for her, but found by her and taken quietly. You feel no judgment, only respect. In a house of abundance, there are still mouths forgotten. She found her own way, one raisin, a sweet breath of rebellion. That, too, is breakfast. You hear a soft sound, laughter, almost. She's rounding the corner, her hand brushing the wall for balance. Another slave, this one older, grins at her knowingly. He doesn't speak, doesn't need to. There's a language among those who serve, not just of tasks and tools, but of moments, stolen ones. Her smile returns. Small. She wipes the corner of her mouth with a sleeve. You almost miss it, but it's there, and that's enough. She moves on to sweep the entry hall. You keep watching, not because of the raisin, but because of the look in her eyes. For one breath, she was full, not of food, but of something close. Satisfaction, maybe, or defiance. You sit on the edge of the fountain, thinking how hunger shows itself in quiet ways, not always with growls or cries, sometimes with silence, sometimes with the softest smile. You don't tell anyone what you saw, not because it's a secret, but because it's hers. The kitchen fills with heat. Now, ovens warming, bread rising, but none of it for those who woke first. The masters will eat soon. Tables will be set. Plates will clink. Laughter will echo, but not for everyone. A small boy in a slave's tunic picks a crumb from under the table, eats it, doesn't blink. A bell rings. Breakfast, officially, but the ones who needed it most, they've already eaten what little there was, or they haven't, and won't. You watch a line of schoolboys shuffle past the gate, gnawing bread as they walk. The slave girl reappears, broom in hand, face unreadable. You wonder if she's still tasting that raisin, or if it's already gone. Another day begins. No one announces it, but everyone feels it. Breakfast in Rome wasn't about fullness. It was about moments, and who was allowed to have them. Breakfast in the baths. Yes, really. Steam curls around your ankles as you step into the caldarium. The heat clings to your skin like an old friend. It's barely sunrise, but the Roman baths are already buzzing. Men of all ages soak, scrub, and soak again. And somewhere between the tepidarium and the frigidarium, they eat. Not lavishly, just enough. You follow the scent of warm oil and figs. Someone passes a platter. Almonds, slices of melon, 2 olives, and a crust of barley bread. You take one of each, balance them on your palm like a merchant weighing coin. There's no table here, just stone benches and warm walls. You sit, let your towel slip, and bite into the fig. It's sticky. It's perfect. You close your eyes. The sounds of the bathhouse fill the air. Footsteps on wet marble. The slap of a hand against skin. The laughter of someone who's stayed too long in the hot pool. You take another bite. Olive this time. Briny. Sharp. Water trickles down your back. Your stomach thanks you, quietly. Because here, in the steam, breakfast doesn't interrupt. It blends, just like everything else in Rome. An older man leans against the column beside you. His beard is soaked. He smells faintly of lavender and age. He doesn't speak right away, just chews his almond slowly, eyes scanning the room. Then, without looking at you, he mutters, "Hadrian used to sit right over there." You raise an eyebrow. He nods toward the far wall, carved with fading mosaics of dolphins and lions. "Dates," he says. He always brought a pouch of dates. Ate them one by one. Never shared. He chuckles. You smile. You don't know if it's true, but you hope it is, because something about that image, an emperor, towel draped, fingers sticky with fruit, feels right. The old man stands. His joints pop. He leaves behind a half-finished cup of watered wine. You take a sip. It's sour, but not unpleasant. It tastes like morning and memory. Someone sneezes in the steam. Someone else hums a tune with no words. You lean your head against the warm stone and let it all wash over you. The food here isn't formal. There are no courses, no servants, no silver. Just small handfuls shared between men who have just scrubbed each other's backs. There's something disarming about it. You're not pretending, not performing, just chewing. A slave boy walks past with a basket of plums. He offers one to a senator, who waves him off. He offers you one next. You accept. It's warm from the steam. You wipe it on your tunic, then realize too late that your tunic is wetter than the fruit. No matter. You bite. Sweet. Almost too sweet. You eat around the pit, then flick it into a nearby drain. It makes a satisfying clink. You glance up. Someone saw. They nod in approval. There are unspoken rules here. But that one? It's fine. The stone beneath you begins to cool. That means your time's almost up. Bathhouses aren't for lingering. Not unless you're wealthy enough to own the bench. You stretch your arms overhead. Hear something pop in your back. A man across the way burps softly. Another tosses a rind into a basket. The meal, such as it was, is over, but you feel lighter. Not because you've eaten much, but because you've shared something small and strange with strangers. That's breakfast in the baths. Ephemeral, salted by steam, interrupted by jokes and interrupted again by silence. You dry your hands on a rag someone left behind. Stand and take one last fig from the platter as you go, because no one is watching, and because it's there, and because that's what Hadrian would have done. Maybe. You'll never know for sure, but it's a good story either way. Evolving tastes, from republic to empire. The bread is sweeter now. You notice it before your teeth do. A glaze of honey, a softness that suggests oil, not just water and flour. This isn't the same panis you gnawed as a boy. This is breakfast, elevated. And not by accident, by design. You sit on a worn bench beside the mosaic. It's cracked at the corners but still vivid. A bowl of figs. A loaf glistening with syrup. 2 silver cups of watered wine. A rooster stands behind the table, pecking crumbs. You smile. It's dated, year 3 of Augustus. Breakfast is status, not survival. You run your fingers along the tile. Cool, smooth. The kind of luxury that outlives its owners. You imagine the house it once adorned. Marble floors, slaves with silent steps. Children arguing over which fig is theirs. Someone beside you coughs. You turn. An older man holding half a crust. No glaze. No figs. No silver. Just dry bread and a hint of yesterday's ash. He nods once. You nod back. 2 citizens. 2 stomachs. 2 worlds. Under Augustus, everything changed. They said he brought peace, and law, and roads. But he also brought appetite. Wheat ships arrived more often. Spices trickled in with every conquest. Even the poor noticed. Not in taste, but in what others flaunted. The sweet smells wafted through alleyways, but rarely stopped there. You bite into your bread again, still warm from the bakery. Sticky, fluffy, unfair. Because you didn't pay. You're here on business, and the client insisted. Their version of generosity. 1 sweet roll and a lecture on civic virtue. You barely heard him, too focused on the way the honey clung to your fingertips. There's a boy nearby, watching you, his tunic frayed, eyes steady. You break the bread, offer him half. He hesitates, then takes it with both hands, chews slowly, savoring each bite like it's his last for the week. It might be. You've eaten dozens of these. He may never again. And that's Rome. 1 empire, 1,000 breakfasts, all different, all Roman. You rise. Wipe your fingers on your sash. Dust clings to the honey. You turn one last time to the mosaic, and suddenly see it not as decoration, but documentation, proof that breakfast changed, from barley and vinegar to fruit and pride, rituals and superstitions. Section 1. An empty stomach for the gods. Some mornings, you don't eat first, you wait. Because today isn't about hunger, it's about reverence. You pass by a neighbor kneeling beside a small household altar. The incense is lit. A thin ribbon of smoke curls upward like a question with no rush for an answer. She holds a crust of bread in both hands but doesn't bite. Instead, she places it down on a shallow dish, whispers something soft, and bows her head. This is a ritual passed down, not taught, but absorbed. The bread will sit untouched until the sun climbs higher and the family's offering is accepted. Some say the gods prefer offerings made on an empty stomach. Others say fasting sharpens your mind for the divine. Either way, the silence of her devotion lingers. Even your own belly seems to quiet down in response. You walk on slowly, past doorways where shutters are still drawn, past stoops where people sit not to rest, but to wait. The street feels thinner somehow, like the veil between this world and the next is more fragile before breakfast, more open, more holy. Section 2. The priest and the bitter cup. At the edge of the temple square, you see him again, the older priest with the crooked spine and the sandals made from woven reeds. He's seated on the stone steps, sipping something from a clay cup. You expect wine, but when you get closer, the smell surprises you. It's bitter, sharp, herbal. He sees your curiosity and explains without being asked. Fennel root steeped in warm water, with a sliver of licorice and a drop of honey. If the temple has any. No food until noon, he says with a half smile. Clean minds, empty bellies. The gods prefer clear vessels. You sit beside him for a moment. The sun isn't fully up, and the stones beneath you are still cool. He drinks slowly, not like someone savoring taste, but like someone measuring time. He doesn't speak again, and you don't break the silence, because it feels like a different kind of nourishment, not for the body, for something else. A passing temple assistant nods at you both, his hands carrying a basket of unlit incense and dried leaves. The priest lifts his cup, a quiet toast, to a morning without a meal, and somehow it feels full. Section 3. Bread, symbols, and secret protection. You turn into a quieter alley, shaded and still. There, seated on a low wall, is a young girl cradling a hunk of yesterday's bread. Before taking a bite, she presses her thumb into the crust, once, then again, forming a small circle. Next, a quick X, then 2 faint dots. You realize she's drawing a face. A tiny face, simple, soft, familiar. You ask her what it means. To keep bad luck away, she says. Bread shouldn't go into a mouth that hasn't smiled. She smiles, takes a bite, then offers you a piece. It's dry and dense and slightly sweet, maybe from dried fig. You mimic her gesture, pressing your own thumb into your slice. Not quite a face, just a swirl, but it feels like a charm. As you chew, she tells you her grandmother taught her the bread face. Her grandmother's grandmother, too. No bread should be eaten without blessing, she says. But sometimes, the blessing is just making it smile first. You nod, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you wonder, how many mouths have whispered magic into breakfast? Section 4. Salt, wishes, and quiet charms. The market opens slowly today, with stalls only half awake. You see a group of boys on the fountain steps, each holding a small roll. The oldest pulls a pouch from his belt. Just cloth tied with a string. He pinches a bit of coarse salt and flicks it over his bread before eating. The others copy him. Make a wish, one says, but don't say it out loud, or it spoils. Another boy sneezes. Everyone laughs. Someone mutters that a god just heard his wish and rejected it. Even in jest, there's reverence. You take your own bread from your satchel. Not much left, but enough for 2 bites. You don't have salt, but you do have a habit. You tap the bread twice on your knee. No reason, just something your uncle did, and your mother did before him. You've never asked why. Maybe you will someday, or maybe it's better not to know. Maybe knowing ruins it. Sometimes the not knowing is the charm itself. And this city, this morning, is full of quiet charms. Section 5. Superstition, custom, and a question for you. Later, you pass a small bakery on the outskirts of the Forum. A woman there marks every loaf she bakes with a cross before selling. She says it helps the dough rise properly. She says it keeps the mischief spirits out. She says it's just tradition. But when she skips one loaf and it burns, she refuses to sell it, gives it to the birds. Superstition? Maybe. But it's baked into every part of this city. From the way people step over thresholds with the right foot first, to how they whistle before boiling lentils, to how they never touch olive oil with the left hand if they're angry. These aren't laws. They're rituals. They're comfort. They're continuity. And somehow, they make breakfast feel safer. You sit on the edge of a fountain, eating the last of your roll. Someone nearby tosses crumbs in a pattern. Left, right, center, then hums. You don't ask why, because maybe you do the same thing, in your own way. So now, tell me honestly, do you have any strange little habits in the morning? A tap, a murmur, a pause? You're not alone. Breakfast during famine or war. You wake before your stomach does. There's no smell of bread, no pots clinking, no one stirring oatmeal or steeping herbs, only the wind tapping the shutter like a gentle reminder. Nothing's coming. It's not a surprise. Yesterday ended the same way. The last grain was crushed 3 days ago. The pantry holds only memories and a dried sprig of thyme that no one has touched. In times like this, breakfast becomes a memory instead of a meal. You pull on your sandals slowly, as if slowness might quiet the ache inside. The neighbor's child cries. You hear a mother whisper something about water and roots. You know what she means. Out back. You dig gently, brushing aside dust and brittle weeds, hoping for something, anything, a wild onion, maybe, or the thick stem of wild chicory. Your fingers touch something soft and fibrous. You don't cheer. You just carry it inside. Wash it. Slice it thin. The family shares it with solemn nods. The youngest dips it in warm water and pretends it's broth. No one laughs, but no one cries either. That, too, is part of surviving. The air smells faintly of ash and old bread. You sit for a moment longer, letting the hunger settle like morning dew in your chest. You scrape the bark slowly, carefully. Not all bark is safe, but you've learned which ones don't make your belly cramp. Elm, if you're lucky. Poplar, if you're not. You dry it by the fire, not to toast it, but to chase away the mold. Then you grind it with a stone, mixing in bits of straw, crushed chickpeas, or ground up grape seeds if you have them. This is flour now, of a kind. You add a splash of water, shape it into discs, and press them flat. No oil, no salt, just heat. The cakes come out stiff and sour, but they don't crumble. You break one in half. Offer it to the old man sitting by the wall. He nods without looking, chewing slowly. It takes him a while. That's normal. Bark bread isn't for enjoyment. It's for surviving. A child bites in and winces, then takes another bite anyway. Across the courtyard, someone jokes. Today's bread has fewer splinters than yesterday's. A few laugh, gently. The sun breaks through for a moment. You squint at it and chew. It tastes like wood, but it's warm, and warm counts. You wonder how many trees it takes to keep a family fed, even if only in name. Hunger teaches patience, and bark teaches humility. You remember the fig. It wasn't large. It wasn't ripe, but it was real. You found it half hidden beneath the market stall, bruised but whole. You didn't eat it, not right away. You carried it home in your palm like a treasure. The walk back felt longer, not because of the distance, but the weight of choice. Your grandmother was sitting by the door, wrapped in a worn wool shawl. Her eyes closed against the light. You sat beside her, placed the fig between you. She opened her eyes, saw it, smiled. Without a word, she tore it in two, one half for you, one half for her. You tasted earth, sweetness, and dust all at once. The texture was soft, grainy. The seeds crunched like sand between your teeth. But it was good, because it was shared. She patted your hand, and then closed her eyes again. You didn't speak after that. You just sat in silence. Fig on your tongue, warmth in your chest. It was the best meal you'd had in days, and it only lasted a minute. Some breakfasts are measured in kindness, not calories. Later, you found the stem still in your pocket, dried and curling. You kept it, not because it tasted good, but because it reminded you someone shared. Hunger isn't silent. It has its own voice, not a growl, like the stories say, but a soft, rhythmic flutter, like footsteps in an empty hallway. It taps at your ribs, curls in your throat, hums behind your ears. It makes everything louder. The drip of a leaky roof, the scratch of a rat under the floor, the flick of a broom outside. You try to ignore it. You sip hot water and pretend it's soup. You chew your fingernail and imagine it's bread crust. The mind is clever. You remember someone once said, "Hunger sings." That's not quite true. It hums. It whispers. It questions. How long has it been? Will there be anything tonight? What if there isn't? A boy across the alley lets out a long sigh. That's his song. A girl picks at the mortar between stones, looking for seeds. Maybe. Your uncle says nothing. He just stares at the sky, counting clouds. No one complains. Not really. But the silence stretches like dough with no yeast. Thin, fragile, about to break. And still, you get up, because there's always something to do. Even with an empty belly, even your heartbeat sounds different. Hollow, like a drum played with soft hands. The silence becomes a meal of its own. You swallow it carefully. You sit in the courtyard. Stone, warm beneath you. Your cousin joins with a sliver of something that might have once been carrot. He chews with exaggerated delight. He says, licking imaginary honey from his fingers. You raise an eyebrow. He offers a bark bread crust. Roasted duck, he whispers. You take it. Play along. Marinated figs. You reply, nodding at your cup of boiled leaves. Someone else joins. Then another. A tiny circle of pretending. The bread is still dry. The leaves still bitter. But the laughter comes easy. Softer than usual. But real. A girl pretends to pour wine. A boy to offer cheese. You toast with your clay cups. Clink. It's nothing. And yet, it fills something. A small moment of plenty. Born entirely in the mind. The sun slips lower. Shadows stretch. No one moves to leave. This is the feast you could afford. Not with coins, not with fire, but with imagination, with togetherness. The kind of meal that lives longer than hunger. And just before you rise, someone says, "Tomorrow we'll have lamb." Everyone nods. No one believes it. But still, everyone smiles. Part 13. Regional differences. Gaul, Egypt, Britannia. You wake up to a foggy dawn in Gaul. The air smells of sheep, wood smoke, and distant bread ovens that haven't quite started yet. Breakfast comes not with ceremony but out of necessity. A clay cup of sheep's milk, thick and slightly sour, and a bowl of steaming corn porridge. Not corn as you might know it. This is early millet, boiled slow until soft and sweetened only by the memory of grass. You sit on a log, cloak draped over your knees, watching steam curl upward. An old woman hums as she stirs another pot. A child beside you dips dry bread into the porridge, soaking it until it nearly dissolves. You follow suit. It helps. Someone slices an apple in quarters and passes it down the line. Not part of the meal. Just generosity. The sheep bleat in the distance. Their milk already stored in stone jars to cool. There's little talking, only chewing, only warmth. It's a breakfast that doesn't try to impress, but it leaves you full in a quiet, dependable way. Your fingers stay warm long after the bowl is empty, and that's more than enough for now. Later, you learn this was the same breakfast served to generations before. Unchanged, unhurried, unforgotten. You're not in Gaul anymore. Now, the sun rises over the Nile, bright, immediate, and instead of mist, the morning smells like dust, clay, and the last trace of yesterday's heat. Breakfast here is simple, but rich in its own way. Flatbread made from emmer wheat, rough and dense, baked on hot stones. slightly burnt at the edges. Perfect for tearing. It comes with a smear of mashed dates. Sticky, sweet. The color of old amber. You sit on a woven mat near the courtyard wall. A pottery jar sweats in the shade beside you. It holds water mixed with a splash of pomegranate vinegar. You sip. Cool. Sour. Sharp enough to wake your tongue. A young boy brings olives wrapped in palm leaves. You take one. He smiles, then vanishes again into the morning chores. A cat brushes past your ankle. It doesn't stop, just checks on you. You break the bread slowly, using it to scoop up the date paste. Nothing here is rushed. Even the flies move lazily. You chew, swallow, sit back, and somewhere beyond the reeds and mud bricks, another family is doing the same thing, under the same rising sun. Different empire, same rhythm. When the bread is gone, your fingers are sticky with date syrup. You lick them clean and feel oddly satisfied. Welcome to Britannia. It's colder than you expected. Damp, too. The kind of chill that sneaks under your tunic and lingers in your bones. Breakfast is a thick barley porridge, boiled so long it barely remembers being grain. Beside it, a slab of salted pork, cold, tough, speckled with fat crystals that crunch between your teeth. You sit near a peat fire, but the smoke does more to sting your eyes than warm your toes. Still, you're grateful. A Roman outpost isn't exactly a resort, and the locals aren't known for hospitality. But food is food. You eat with a few others. No one talks. They chew like it's a duty. A crow watches from the wooden beam overhead, eyeing your meat. You stare back. It blinks first. Someone jokes. If the crow steals your pork, it probably needs it more than you. The group chuckles once, then falls silent again. The porridge is plain, but it sticks to your ribs. By the time your bowl is empty, you're not warm, but you're not empty either. And in Britannia, that's called a good morning. Later, someone passes around a cracked leather pouch of dried berries. They're hard, almost bitter, but it's something different. And that alone feels like luxury. You've crossed 3 provinces before noon and never left your seat, because breakfast here is a map. 1 bite of Gaul, soft and mild. A dash of Egypt, spiced, sticky, sun-ripened. And then Britannia, cold, stubborn, but honest. You lean back, letting the flavors linger. Someone passes around a pouch of dried plums, wrinkled and sweet. You take one, chew slowly. Each flavor is a story. Around you, others do the same. Soldiers, merchants, scribes, all different tongues, but the same chewing sounds. Food is the common ground. You trade a slice of olive loaf for a crust dipped in honey. No one measures. No one hoards. Everything gets passed along. An old man offers his last fig to a child. She accepts, and the exchange is sealed with a grin. You wonder how many treaties were signed over bread. Probably more than over wine. Even now, as the empire stretches, people come together not by force, but by taste, by shared hunger, by shared relief, and maybe, just maybe. Breakfast was Rome's first peace offering. Soft, shared, sufficient. In this empire of walls and roads, breakfast travels faster than armies. It speaks all dialects and needs no translation. You swallow, and history follows. You can tell what kind of day it'll be from the first bite. That's what a legionary once told you. He was sharpening his blade and chewing dry bread at the same time. Not exactly poetic, but memorable. This morning, you're back on the road. A quick bite. Nothing more. A strip of cured meat. Bread soaked in watered wine. And a walnut cracked between stones. The taste? Functional. Your jaw works harder than your legs. And that's saying something. But as the sun climbs higher and your pack gets heavier, you remember the bite. It holds. It lasts. You pass a merchant caravan coming from the coast. One of them tosses you a fig. It hits your chest and falls to the ground. You pick it up, wipe it, eat it. Sweet, unexpected, and somehow it changes your pace. The day still feels long. The road still stretches ahead, but your stomach's quiet, and your mind a little lighter. Not all breakfasts need to be grand. Some just need to remind you you're not alone on the path, and you'll make it to dinner. And somewhere behind you, another traveler chews the same hard bread. Different journey, same start. Food of the forgotten. Orphans, beggars, outcasts. In the far corner of the market, hidden between two broken crates, a small group of children crouches low. They're orphans. No parents, no patrons, no names spoken aloud, just dirt-streaked cheeks and hands that move fast. They pick crumbs from the ground, bits of bread someone dropped, or perhaps tossed away. One of them finds a heel of stale panis, cracks it in half, and passes the larger piece to a younger child. There's no fight, just instinct, the kind that teaches you to share, because hunger shared is somehow softer. A dog wanders close. They don't chase it. It gets a crumb, too. The market hasn't fully woken yet. Stalls are half raised. Vendors yawn as they arrange their wares. Wilted cabbages, bruised figs, a pile of broken amphorae. Someone will try to sell as decorative. No one sees the children. Or if they do, they pretend otherwise. One girl tears a corner of bread with her teeth. She winces. It's hard. Maybe moldy, but she eats, not because she likes it, because it's there. A bread seller walks past, not looking down. His basket is half empty. The children freeze, then relax when he keeps walking. The youngest, no more than 4, reaches for a broken fig skin and licks it. You don't know what hits harder, the hunger, or the dignity with which they hide it. Somewhere a dog barks. A bell tolls. The day begins without apology. A few steps away, an old man leans against a post, cupping a bruised apple in both hands. The fruit is soft, spotted, barely clinging to itself. He eats slowly, savoring each bite like it's something sacred. His eyes are rimmed with red, his tunic frayed and stiff with old salt. But his smile? It's surprisingly gentle, almost amused, like he remembers sweeter apples from decades past. People pass him. Some look, most don't, but he stays there, eating the apple with the patience of someone who knows every meal might be the last. His sandals are tied with string. One toe sticks out. Juice runs down his wrist. He wipes it with his sleeve, then laughs. A sound more human than anything else in the square. Still, no one stops. You pause. You feel the bread in your satchel, still warm. A bit of cheese, too. You don't think long. You just walk over, kneel beside a boy with a scraped knee, and hand him your meal. He blinks at it, then at you, then takes it. Wordless, you rise. The others don't rush you or the food. They wait. One child breaks the cheese in thirds before anyone eats. This isn't desperation, it's ritual, one learned from too many days. Without enough, the boy looks up at you again. His eyes are cloudy, tired, far too old. He bites into the bread, then passes it to the girl beside him. No one asks, no one explains. The way they eat is quiet, reverent. You realize no one has asked your name, and it doesn't matter. You were there. That's enough for them. One girl nods to you. Not a smile, not a thank you, just a nod. Acknowledgement, and it feels heavier than gold. She doesn't need to perform gratitude. You didn't give it to be a hero. You gave, because the line between you and her is thinner than morning mist. A man nearby watches the exchange. He doesn't speak, just tilts his head, like he's filing it away. Around you, the marketplace chatters on, haggling, shouting, horses clopping past, unaware of the quiet dignity unfolding at its edge. The girl with the nod doesn't watch the nobles stroll past. She watches you, then turns back to her meal, like she's seen it all before, and maybe she has. Being ignored teaches you to notice everything. You walk away slowly, stomach empty, but heart oddly full, because hunger, it turns out, has many names, but the ache is the same in all languages. And in that moment, you weren't a stranger. You were a witness, a participant. Breakfast for the forgotten may not come with bowls or tables, but it comes with humanity. And today, that was enough. The sun lifts higher. Somewhere, bells chime. The day continues. But you carry their faces, and they carry a piece of bread. Yours. You feel lighter and heavier, all at once. Lighter from the giving, heavier from the knowing. At a vendor's stall, a woman sells sweet dates, wrapped in parchment. You don't stop. You've already had breakfast, not with your mouth, but with your heart, and in the grand form of Rome. That's a story worth carrying. Storage and preparation. How breakfast survives the night. Bread is baked the evening before, meant to last until morning. The oven fire has long since cooled, but the memory of heat clings to the walls. Loaves are lined on wooden slats like bricks drying in the sun. You walk past them quietly, trying not to wake anyone. The crusts are rough, dark, and firm to the touch, meant for survival, not delight. A thin sheet is tossed over them, more for dust than for warmth. You pick one up and knock on the bottom, a hollow thump. It's good, good enough. The smell of olive brine clings to your fingers after lifting the lid of a nearby jar. In the silence, you hear a faint crick, the wax seal settling with the temperature. You wipe the rim, check the base for cracks. It's intact. The jars sit patiently, like obedient dogs lined up and waiting for a nod. Outside, dew begins to form on the stone steps. Inside, breakfast is not made. It's revealed. Olives are sealed with wax, and honey jars are buried in earth to stay cool. A practice passed from parent to child. Not just technique, but faith. You run your hand across the wax. It holds firm. No mold, no ants. The honey jars, on the other hand, are harder to inspect. They sit in small pits dug behind the house, shaded by creeping vines and a cracked amphora. You crouch, brush away the soil, and pull one out with both hands. The wax lid comes up with a soft pop. Still golden, still thick. There's a rhythm to all of it. Preparing food not in haste, but with intent. No rush, just readiness. You set the jar aside gently and glance around the pantry. The air smells of oil, wood, and something sweet beneath it all. Faint traces of yesterday's meals live here, tucked between silence and stone. You don't disturb them. You're only passing through. You help prepare breakfast, checking sealed jugs of wine. They line the back wall like sleepy giants. Each one bears a different mark. Some scratched by charcoal. Some etched with the names of past feasts. You tap one gently. No hollow sound. You lift the lid. Your nose twitches. Not bad, not perfect either. You move to the next. This one is cooler, tighter. You pry it open, and the aroma is clean. You nod and move on. A child walks in, rubbing sleep from their eyes. They say nothing, but glance at the sealed pots as if they, too, are part of the morning routine. The house is still mostly quiet, except for the faint creak of wood shifting in the rafters. You place each jug that passed inspection into a basket, ready for the table. Someone will pour, someone will laugh, and someone always will spill. One jug is cracked. Sour smell escapes. The whole house bursts into laughter. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it always does. You lift the lid, and before your face can react, the odor hits first. Sharp, rancid. Your eyes water. Behind you, someone coughs, then snorts, then laughter. It builds like steam, one chuckle at a time, until it fills the small space. Even the youngest ones laugh, though they don't understand why. It's the kind of thing that becomes a story, a mark on the day. Someone makes a joke about feeding it to the goats. Someone else offers to keep it as perfume for enemies. You join in. The jug is carried out and set by the door. Its time is done, and yet its memory lingers longer than its contents. Children hide bread in their sleeves, calling it insurance. They've learned from mornings like this, a slice now, a slice later. You watch one tuck a chunk into their tunic. When you ask why, they grin and say, just in case. Another lifts a heel of bread and pats it like a pet. Mine, they whisper. No one scolds them. This is not greed. This is tradition. The quiet confidence that if tomorrow forgets you, your sleeve will remember. A bird chirps outside. Not loud, just once. Enough to let the house know that time is moving. You look down at the child's bread again. They're holding it like treasure, and in some ways, it is. Festivals and exceptions. When breakfast meant celebration, you wake before the sun, the feast day. And this one, Saturnalia, is not like the others. The air smells different, like pine, smoke, and roasted grain. You're up before the youngest child, slipping quietly into your tunic. The street outside is alive in a strange way. Hushed laughter, the clink of dishes, dogs barking with confusion. You pass doorways draped in ivy and wool, a symbol. We feast today, and you can smell it already. Someone is boiling honey and figs into syrup. Someone else is roasting barley cakes. A neighbor's slave whistles softly while carrying a heavy tray. It's not often you hear a slave whistle. Inside your home, others are waking, not with groans, but with something lighter. Expectancy. Today is different. Today, even the poor eat like the rich. In the center of the room, a small table is already being set. Not just bread, but cheese. Not just olives, but preserved meats. There's fruit, still dewy from the cellar. And in the middle, a bowl of eggs, boiled just right. Warm and wobbling. One child reaches for a date and gets slapped. Gently, because the meal must be shared. And not yet. Not before the offering. You carry the offering basket with both hands. It's not heavy, but it feels like it should be. Inside, figs, barley, 2 small cakes, and a folded leaf with herbs tied in twine. The walk to the shrine is short, yet ceremonial. Children whisper. Old women smile behind their hands. The air smells like rosemary and coal. At the small household altar, you place the basket down. Others follow, one by one. A nod, a word, a handful of wine drizzled into a clay bowl. The family gathers around the hearth, flames low. incense curling like lazy snakes. The elder lights the candles with a twig still smoldering from the fire. A few words are spoken, half in Latin, half in hope. No one eats yet, but mouths are already wet. The cakes steam faintly. The cheese softens on the platter. Even the youngest is quiet. Just the crackle of fire, the rustle of wool, then a cough, a laugh. Someone pretends to faint from hunger. A cousin begins clapping in rhythm. The ritual is done. Now the feast begins. And not just in your house. The whole street echoes with the same sound. Saturnalia has begun. You carry out the first tray. Roasted chickpeas, still hot. A plate of honeyed nuts. And in the center, a cake shaped like a boar, dusted with poppy seeds. It smells like every sweet memory you've ever had. Children gasp. The neighbor's boy says, "That's not food. That's magic." You grin, placing the tray down with a mock bow. Others follow behind you with more. A baked squash stuffed with lentils. A fig tart. Even meat, rare on a morning table, sizzles on a flat pan. There's laughter now, and music from the alley. A man with a pipe and a woman clapping time with a wooden spoon. One of the older women tears a piece of bread and hands it to a child not her own. No one questions it, because today no one is above or below. Even slaves are offered a seat. They hesitate. At first, then someone jokes about them taking over the house. They laugh, but they sit, and they eat. A thin girl with braids takes a second fig, and no one stops her. It's not just food, it's permission, it's celebration. Even the crumbs are sacred today. One man saves a crust in his pocket, for later, or maybe for luck. A child licks his fingers, then dips them back into the honey bowl. No one stops him. The feast doesn't end in silence. It ends in stories, in the kind of laughter that makes your ribs hurt. And as you sit there, watching it all, you wonder, if breakfast can feel like this, what must dinner be? You find yourself outside again, drawn by sound. The baker is giving away small loaves, sweet ones, spiced with cinnamon and cumin. You take one, not for hunger, but for memory. It's warm in your hand, and somehow, that alone feels like a gift. In the square, a group of children perform a short play. Badly, joyfully. A puppet with a crooked nose falls over twice. They howl with laughter. A young man balances a bowl of dates on his head while dancing. He almost drops it. Someone throws a cushion. More laughter. Even the priest smiles. A dog barks at a roast bird turning on a spit. No one scolds it, because even animals deserve Saturnalia. Your uncle trades a joke with a senator. Your cousin shares wine with a former slave. You lean against a column, finishing your loaf slowly, and for a moment, the world is soft, level, equal. The smell of roasted barley and wet wool, the taste of warm dough, the sound of distant music and nearby chewing. A festival, yes, but also a pause, a chance to be full and free. Back inside, the table has thinned. Plates are empty. Cups are tipped sideways, stained with wine and juice. A half-peeled orange sits abandoned. A chicken bone points north like an arrow. You help gather the remains. A cracked bowl. A napkin, damp with honey. Crumbs in every corner of the table. Someone sings softly while sweeping. The hearth glows with fading light. It smells now of ash and citrus and spent joy. A little girl slips something into your hand. A candied chestnut, sticky and warm. No one saw. She whispers. You don't speak. You just nod. Outside, the street is quieter. Lamps flicker. One man plays a slow tune on a lute. You unwrap the chestnut and eat it in one bite. It tastes like sugar and fire and wood, and somehow, love Today was Saturnalia. Tomorrow, the world returns. But for now, your belly is full, and your heart, strangely full too. If you had one day to eat like royalty, just once, what would be on your plate? Or maybe it wouldn't be food at all. Maybe your royal breakfast would be a moment like this. Quiet, messy, real, a stolen, candied chestnut, and a smile too wide for one morning. The kind of meal you carry, not in your stomach, but in your memory. You take the last bite. It's small, dry, not much to celebrate, but it marks a quiet line between stillness and motion. You've eaten. You've paused. Now the city begins. You rise from your seat, the stool creaking softly beneath you. Sandals brush against the cool floor. You press a palm to your stomach, not full, but steadier. Outside, the wind rustles fig leaves along the wall. Inside, someone coughs, someone else hums, and you step forward, because Rome waits for no one, and neither does work. Cobblestones greet your feet with their usual indifference. Cold, uneven, familiar. You step outside the domus and the street yawns before you. Long, pale, already busy. Vendors are pushing carts. A boy is chasing a dog with half a loaf in his hand. You smell smoke from early bread ovens far down the block. But none of that is yours now. You've had your share. Now it's time to earn the next one. Your hands tighten the strap across your chest. The tools inside clink softly. You pass a neighbor who nods once, mouth full of something steamed and sweet. Lucky, you give a half smile, the kind that doesn't show teeth. Just enough to say, we're both alive. The road to the Forum is still shadowed. Sunlight hasn't quite spilled into the alleyways. There's dew on the cartwheels. A pigeon flaps from a balcony and lands too close. You step around it. It coos indignantly. You think about breakfast again. Not the food, but the moment. The table. The quiet. How short it was. But how full it managed to feel. Even when your hands are now empty, the warmth lingers, like a crust tucked in your memory. Behind you, the domus door creaks shut. Not loud, not final, just a soft reminder that something ended. And something else has begun. You walk past a baker sweeping his threshold. A trail of flour dancing like ghosts. He glances at you, raises a brow, then flicks a crumb your way. It's warm. You catch it midair, bite down, still chewy inside. You nod, and he nods back. No words, only bread. The street opens wider now. A carriage rattles past. Its driver eating dried figs from a cloth bundle. He tosses one to a child, who misses, but smiles anyway. That's the thing about mornings. They're messy, but they always carry something unexpected. A gift, a rhythm, a small grace between footsteps. You pass a man muttering to himself about taxes. A woman arguing with a goose. A child singing off-key. Rome waking, not all at once, but fully, and you in the middle of it. With the taste of borrowed bread and borrowed time, you adjust your tunic again. Your belt feels looser. Maybe the bread was smaller today. Maybe your hunger's bigger. You don't stop to wonder. You keep walking, because Rome never waits, and neither can you. In a side alley, a door opens. A woman steps out, holding a bowl. Steam rises. She's stirring something. Lentils, maybe, or porridge from last night. She sees you, tilts the bowl slightly. You shake your head politely. She nods, then pours a bit onto the ground. An offering? A superstition? Just kindness? You don't ask. You just keep walking. A vendor waves you over. He's selling walnuts and small jars of pickled onions. You nod again. No, thank you. Not today. He shrugs. Next time. Your feet ache already, and the sun is barely above the roofs. You reach the square. Workers gather in clusters. Tools clink. Voices rise and fall like birdsong. Someone hands out figs. One man complains they're too soft. Another says soft means sweet. A third says they're all liars. Everyone laughs. You laugh too. And in that laugh, you taste breakfast again. Not on your tongue, but in your chest. The warmth of olive oil. The crunch of crust. The quiet clatter of morning dishes. It's gone now, but not lost. It carries you forward. Just enough. Always enough. As you lean into the work, the memory of that bread lingers. Not just the flavor, but the moment it created. Something to carry in your chest. Like a small flame tucked inside wool. Just enough to feel human. Just enough to last till noon. One last sound follows you. A quiet voice from behind a curtain. Wait. You turn. An older woman stands in the doorway, arm outstretched. She holds a single olive, shriveled, oily, still glinting in the light. You pause, then walk back, 3 slow steps. She presses it into your hand, says nothing, just smiles with tired eyes. You nod, tuck it into your pouch, not out of hunger, but because it was offered, because it matters. That's how mornings work here, piece by piece, person by person, not always full, but often enough. You continue on. The city is louder now. Shutters open. Dogs bark. The sun finds your face, and you squint, chewing slowly. It's not a feast, but it's enough. Enough to walk, enough to work, enough to keep going. And as your steps fall into rhythm with others, you wonder, if you could choose the very last bite of every morning, what would it be? A fig? A smile? Or a moment like this? Something small, but sacred. And maybe, just maybe, it's those small bites that hold the biggest truths. Not in their size, but in the silence they leave behind. You lie on your side, cocooned in quiet. Your belly is no longer full, but it's not empty either. It carries memory, not just of food, but of lives once lived. You think back to the bread that wasn't soft, the wine that wasn't sweet, the silence that wasn't awkward, a Roman morning, cold and deliberate. You imagine the hard panis. You imagine the way it resisted your teeth, but eventually gave in. It didn't need butter. It didn't need spice. It needed only time, and hands, and a reason. The Romans didn't eat to be happy. They ate to continue. You shift a little under the blanket. The thought lingers, that maybe a meal isn't about what it tastes like, but who you share it with, or what it helps you endure. And so you breathe again, long, slow, and think, breakfast was never just breakfast. It was survival. It was culture. It was the first decision of the day, and the first story told, and maybe that's why. Even now, in the hush of a modern night, you can still feel it, that weightless connection to the past, the rhythm of a world that began its day with effort, not indulgence, not options, but necessity. It humbles you, gently, like the curve of a stone bowl, carved by time, held by hands that never knew you, but fed you all the same. So sleep now. Their morning has ended. Yours will come. The air is still. Your eyes are closed, but your mind is paging through memory, like a scroll unrolling in the dark. You see a slave girl nibbling raisins before dawn. You see a merchant with sunburned hands passing out fig slices on the road. You see a child sucking on crusts. No complaint in his gaze. They are gone, but they ate. And somehow, so did you. Each scene that played before your eyes fed you in a different way. The salted fish that made your throat burn. The barley paste that stuck to your teeth. The cracked cup passed between strangers at a bathhouse. These were moments, little ordinary moments, but in the hush of night, they bloom into meaning. A meal that cost nothing, or everything. A morsel shared in secret, or a blessing spoken over scraps. Your chest rises and falls. History is heavy, but it doesn't press down. It holds you, like an old friend, like an old bread, hard, but full of purpose. You wonder if they dreamed, too. Did Roman children dream of sweeter meals? Did widows in Britannia fall asleep imagining the smell of fig bread? Did laborers close their eyes to the thought of a stolen apple? You don't know, but you do now. You dream for them, because somewhere, history becomes imagination, and imagination becomes rest. Sometimes, food is a mirror. You saw yourself in that Roman boy this morning, biting down on cheese too old for comfort. You watched his mother hand him a slice of apple with rough fingers. No words, just a nod. You've done that. Maybe not with Roman food, but with Roman gestures. A shrug, a gesture of enough, a glance that says, eat while you can. You smile, not because it was funny, but because it was true. Some things never change. We eat what we have. We share what we can. We pretend not to notice the hunger in others if we don't have enough. But when we do, we offer. You remember the orphan at the market, the priest sipping herbal water instead of wine, the grandmother who rubbed bread with garlic to stretch its power. And now they rest in your mind, not as ghosts, but as neighbors, as people who knew the same sky, and now the same sleep. And as your breath slows, you feel a small kind of peace. You've eaten nothing, and yet you're full of stories, full of understanding. And maybe that's all breakfast ever was. A pause, a preparation, a promise that the day was worth beginning, even if all you had was half a crust and one look that said, you'll be fine. You stretch your legs under the blanket. Soft rustling. Somewhere a dog barks. Faint. You imagine a Roman dog barking at a thief stealing figs. You smile again. Your last breath tasted like honey, even if only in thought. And that thought lingers, because now you understand. They ate for strength, but also for story, for rhythm, for meaning. And so did you, even now. Lying in silence, bellies empty, the taste remains. You recall the crunch of barley, the flick of salt, the swirl of watered wine. Your tongue remembers, so does your heart. Sleep doesn't come all at once. It settles in like a slow stew, like morning light creeping through a stone archway. And you welcome it, because what you ate wasn't just food. It was time. It was breath. It was someone's first thought of the day, and now your last. You wonder if those tastes ever disappeared, if we've lost more than we realize, not the recipes, but the reasons, the way someone folded their napkin out of habit, not need, the way they blessed the bread without believing in gods, but in rhythm, the quiet understanding that hunger was not an enemy, just another guest at the table. And when that guest left, the day could begin. You roll gently to your side, one hand still resting as if cradling bread. That's the image you carry with you now. Bread. Simple, cracked, sacred. You think of everything you've tasted tonight, or imagined. Not flavors, but feelings. The kind you can't cook, only remember, only dream. It's quiet now, utterly quiet. You let your breath match the rhythm of ancient ovens and long-forgotten prayers. And just before your mind drifts completely, you hear one last whisper. Good night. Next time, we'll visit a world where ink changed everything. How the first Bible was printed and why it changed everything.